Hello, I'm live. I'm gonna wait for some people to come in, but I have something on my heart right now and I want to say it, and I just want to be more open and honest about how I feel about a lot of different things that are going on right now, especially involving women and children. Like on my last live, I'm sorry I haven't gotten to the comments on the other lives yet. I've just been processing. Honestly, I've been trying to keep up with my business and everything like that, but I've also been processing all of the things that, I'm finally sharing about how I feel and the topics that I am speaking on, because it's all a lot, and it is a lot for me. So I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to say a prayer and set my intentions, and then we're going to get into this, and I'm going to try to speak about this the best that I can, as kindly as I can, but these topics really get me fired up. Hey Shaylin, how you doing? And also there will probably be a point when I turn off the chat, just because the last time that I was like doing the live and talking about a topic, there was like a lot of people that were like being really heinous in the chat, hiding behind the keyboard. And I guess someone made a really good point on Patreon last night that like those people might not even be real. They could literally be bots. But yeah, I know it's a very polarizing title, but it is truly how I feel, and I will tell you why. That's how I feel. So, hi Odysseus. Hi Indigo. How are you doing? Hi. And then I'm gonna explain to you what I mean. And I honestly, if I'm being real, I don't think that title is polarizing at all. I don't think that title is polarizing at all. I think that there are atrocities happening against children. We talked about some of the atrocities happening against women, but we'll get more into that. But I don't think it's a polarizing title. I stand with children. I am a child that experienced abuse in many different forms, and I am here to say that I do not consent to other children being abused, either in ways I was abused or in ways that didn't even exist as a child, as when I was a child. So yeah, let me just say a prayer and set my intentions. Benevolent guides, guardians, ancestors, angels, star family, higher self, Yeshua, Baal, Ra, and God's source, as well as Yemaya. I humbly come to you today on behalf of myself and all those who will watch this live, and whether they are a positive or a negative influence on the live. I just say thank you for everything that you blessed me with. I'm grateful for all aspects of life, the ups, the downs, the challenges, and the blessings. And I understand that this is a very polarized reality that we live in, and so I'm grateful for all aspects, because I understand it makes a well-rounded individual. And I ask, please, that I be a messenger for the divine, nothing more, nothing less. I ask, please, that no truth be told for a lie, and no lie be told for a truth. I ask that all the information that come through be kind, palatable, and easy to understand. Please grant me access to the Akashic Record, so I may give good and accurate information about why I feel the way I feel, and so that I may stand in truth and righteousness and in Christ consciousness. And let all the information that come through be, like I said, kind, palatable, and easy to understand, so that people can hear what I'm saying, process it without, hopefully getting triggered or letting brainwashing or trauma or anything else of the sort kind of get in the way of seeing the truth. And I just ask, please, that you shield me from any evil or negative energy that might be thrown my way due to this. And I just ask, please, that you protect myself and all those of righteousness and truth, and please awaken those who do not have eyes to see or ears to hear. Let them see the truth and let them know the reality of what's going on. And yeah, I just pray that you be with me, Yeshua. Please shield me and help me to protect the children. I pray all of this with the purest of hearts and the best of intentions, only ever for the highest and greatest good of myself, the highest and greatest good of humanity, and the highest and greatest good of this universe. All right, cool. There's not that many people in here yet, but I guess we'll see once I start talking what's going to happen, but, you know, it is a topic that is not really, people don't really like to talk about. So I guess what I'll say first is, like I've talked about a couple different times, I'm in the trans conversation. I've been following it for many, many years. Back, I think like 2016, 2017, I had a trans roommate, female to male. I was with him before he had top surgery. I was with him while he was trying to get top surgery. Not with him, like friends, but like living with him, I should say, living with him while he was going through all of this. So obviously, I do not have that experience. I'm not a trans person, but I do have some firsthand experience of living with a trans person mid-transition. I also have, just had run-ins with I've had run-ins with other real trans people. I've had run-ins with predatory people that are not actually trans, that are wearing trans face in order to get away with their predatory behavior. And I've been keeping up with the situation with children in the trans community and fast-tracking people to surgery, which was not the case. When my roommate was going through his top surgery, he had to go through many different doctors. There was a lot of different gatekeeping, a lot of therapy. There was socialization that had to happen before the surgery. And I think that, people get very upset when you say things like that, because you're like, don't deny trans people the services that they need. And it's like, nobody's asking you to deny them the services that they need, but we are asking for safe gatekeeping so we don't have mistakes. That's why gatekeeping was put into place, because they wanted to make sure that this is what somebody actually wanted, because the surgery is non-reversible. If you remove someone's breasts, you cannot put them back on. And it's crazy because you hear women nowadays saying, well, you can just get breast implants if you change your mind. That's not your original breasts. You can't breastfeed with those breasts. You had 2 perfectly good breasts and you remove them thinking that you're a man, when in reality it was something else, right? Because so many of these detransitioners, they have a cross issue. So they have an issue with, some sort of mental health or some sort of trauma or something that it has nothing to do with being trans. And then they get fast-tracked into this surgery and they get fast-tracked into this situation that actually has nothing to do with them. The number of detransitioners is growing and growing and growing. And I'm going to give you some examples to watch after this. So if you really want to know where I'm coming from, if you really want to delve into it, if you want to go down the rabbit hole, I'm going to give you links to exact videos that can show you what I'm speaking about. So the reason I'm bringing this up today is because, so I was seeing that there was a trans woman in Oregon that was running track and literally smoked all the females, like smoked them, because it's just a man in a bra, okay? This person doesn't look like they've done anything to change their biology, and even so, you can't fully change your biology. You can mess with it like a mad scientist by taking synthetic hormones that are not even compatible to your natural biology. Yeah, you can do that, but you will never fully change your biology. You can try to play God all you want, but you're not God, okay? And so this man took over and that's what I'm going to call him, because he's just a cheater. He's like another Leah Thomas. I don't believe Leah Thomas is really trans. I believe Leah Thomas was a man that was losing against men, so he got the bright idea to posture as and take on this role as a woman and pretend to be a woman so that he could take the gold, because I know that people love to say, well, women can do anything men can do. Yeah, in certain cases, but in the case of biology, that's just not true. In the case of biology, men are different. And it's like I said last time, it's so crazy that people are like, trust the science, but it's only like when it's convenient for them, and it's only when they actually, when it supports the narrative that they're pushing, right? And so I was watching this man compete against the women, literally smoke them. It's like so frustrating and annoying, because like I was talking about on the last live, like there's so many like there's so many things that women had to overcome in society just to be taken seriously and be treated like first-class citizens, not second-class citizens. So to watch this man just put on a bra, run ahead of all the girls, smoke all these girls, it's so fucked up too, because it's like, maybe those girls were trying to get a scholarship. Maybe they want to go to college and they can't afford it. And now Mr. puts on a bra, comes in and runs like fucking like way ahead of them and beats them. I don't believe that that's fair. I believe he's a cheater. And like I said in the last live, if you want to make a big fucking deal about trans athletes, you need to make Special Olympics for them. Because like I said, you wouldn't have somebody with prosthetic legs running against somebody with natural fucking legs and say that it's fair. It's just not. And so the reason I'm bringing this up is because I'm watching the video and there's all these comments that are like, well, if a male gets on puberty blockers and is stopped from getting puberty, then they should be able to run with women and they should be able to compete with women. And that's why I'm saying there's no such thing as trans kids. There is only child abuse, because guess what? You shouldn't want to stop your puberty. That is not healthy and that is not safe. I've said it once, I'll say it again. Puberty blockers are the same medication that they use in jail to sterilize rapists. They use that medication to chemically castrate rapists in jail. So puberty blockers are not safe and effective. Puberty blockers are not reversible. If you fuck up your hormones to the point where you do not go through puberty, you do not get a second chance. You do not just get to decide that you're suddenly going to go through puberty after, okay? And puberty is a hard time for everyone, man or woman. When you're going through these hormonal changes, you're a teenager, you have no idea what's going on, you're already confused. Like, you're trying to find your space in the world, you're trying to individuate, you're trying to become something like an adult, and it's like, it's already a really difficult time. Don't give children the opportunity to opt out of a natural biological occurrence in the human body. And I'm going to give you plenty of reasons why. So there's just a recent study that came out, which I think if you have half a fucking brain cell, you could have known this, that most children who experience gender dysmorphia, it's just a phase. They grow out of it. And the reason I'm so passionate about this is because I was a fucking tomboy. I was a tomboy. My mom would take me to the boys section, the kids' boys section, to pick out clothes. I would wear boy shoes. I would hang out with my boy cousins. I thought it was cool to be a boy. I wasn't trying to be a boy because trans wasn't a thing, but I was trying to fit in with the boys. If trans was a thing when I was a kid, I 100%, I don't think my parents would have allowed it, I'm not sure, but I would have thought I was trans. I would have tried to go and shift my gender and my sex, and I don't feel that way now. I'm very happy being a woman. There's a lot of things that are shitty about being a woman right now, right? Which is what I talked about on my last live. But other than those, really, that's just the thing, right? There's always going to be difficulties. There's always going to be hardships. The difficulties and hardships are way outweighing the good right now, but that's society's fault. And so if we can shift society, which we're working on doing with bringing in the new earth, then we can absolutely shift the way women are treated. And just by creating safe spaces for women and having these conversations is already shifting things positively. So, yeah, that is my feelings. I feel like I would have been transed as a kid. I feel like I would have been fast-tracked to this situation that I don't feel connected to that at all anymore. I am so excited to be a mom. I am so excited to get pregnant someday. I'm so excited to breastfeed. I'm going to have lots of children. I love my feminine form. I love my feminine body. I've been posting more. I've been pole dancing for many years, but I started posting it more on this channel because I want to make this channel more inclusive of all aspects of myself and not hide parts of myself that I feel like the internet is going to make fun of or, not receive well, which is part of the reason why I'm doing this live. And so I love being a woman. But also, let's talk about the other aspect of things. I have childhood abuse. I also have childhood sexual abuse. That is a major factor in these detransitioning situations. Like I was saying, the people who have become detransitioners were either really confused by the doctors and fast-tracked by the doctors, or they have some sort of trauma or mental health issue that had them thinking that they were trans in the first place. And so, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Sorry, it's just such a polarized topic. I have so many thoughts, and like you were saying, it's a polarized like title and everything like that. But at the same time, I don't understand why it's such a polarized topic, because I feel like there's a difference between right and wrong, and I feel like the bodily mutilation of children is just wrong. And of adults too. So it's like I was saying, I remember what I was saying now, that a lot of these detransitioners were either fast-tracked or they have some sort of trauma, particularly sexual trauma. And I think that, for one, I think it's a really great way to sterilize an entire generation. If you don't get to go through puberty, you don't get to have children in the future. And the wet dream of every single, like, 1%er, every single person that has a lot of money and a lot of power, no matter what space they're in, they're always talking about population control. They're always talking about how they want us to stop reproducing. They're always talking about ways to sterilize us. You can literally go find a TED Talk with Gil Bates. It might be taken down at this point, where the entire TED Talk is about how he's trying to successfully sterilize us and keep us from reproducing, because population control is his number one goal while he's here on this planet. And to this, I am saying, stop playing God, just like I'm saying to the doctors, and just like I'm saying to Big Pharma, stop fucking playing God. You are not fucking God, and you will be punished, Gil Bates, and all of you fucking, like, experimenting on children and everything. Your day of reckoning will come. You will be punished. So anyway, like I was saying, I definitely would have been fast-tracked to at least socially transitioning, and I definitely would have had some issues with that. I also would like to note that I have really small boobs. Like, I have really small boobs, and oh my God, the amount of times as a teenager that I was like, I want a boob job, I want a boob job, I want a boob job, I just want bigger boobs. So my generation was like, when I was a teenager, it was like Playboy was like very popular. So it was like the big boobs and stick thin body. That was like the go-to, right? That was what people really thought was beautiful. That was considered a good body. Everything else was not considered a good body. And also it was like, they would call people fat who were like not fat. Like, it's crazy to me that I watched back Girls Next Door, and like Bridget was like meant to seem like she was like overweight or something, and she literally like barely has a stomach. She's just as skinny as the other girls. Like, it's really weird to me, but it's because she had a natural body. Like, she had natural breasts and a natural body, and so it was like she was made to seem like she's fat and doesn't have a good body. So my generation went through a lot of brainwashing on that aspect with like boobs. And so I can remember being 13 and looking up plastic surgery, being 16 and looking up plastic surgery and everything like that. And up until recently, over the last couple years, when I unpacked a lot of personal trauma around body dysmorphia, I still didn't like my boobs. I thought they were terrible, and I didn't like to show them to people, and I was very self-conscious of them, and I still had those deep-rooted thoughts and feelings about my body and about my breasts. And I felt very disconnected from them, and it took a lot of healing, a lot of inner work, and a lot of healing to love and accept my body. And now I think my boobs are great. I wouldn't want big boobs anyway at this point. I'm too like athletic. I don't want them getting in the way. Plus, like, that I wear a heavy necklace, and I'm like, oh man, my back hurts. Like, I can't imagine if I had to carry around some big old boobies. Like congrats to you ladies who are able to do that. But my point was saying all of this is I obviously was not allowed to get breast augmentation at 13 or 16 or any time when I was a minor. Why on God's green fucking earth would you allow a girl to cut her boobs off while she's a minor? We don't even let kids, we don't let you go to war. I talked about this in the last live. We don't let you go to war unless you're over 18, which I still think is kind of young. We don't let you, rent a vehicle till you're 25. Like, we're more worried about this rented vehicle than we are about children's bodies. Like, if you can't get a tattoo. I always knew I wanted tattoos. Can you imagine the tattoos that would have been on my fucking body if I got them when I was a teenager? I can't imagine that I'd still like them because I'm a completely different person than I was when I was 12, 13, 15, 16. I'm a whole different person. So my point of saying all of that with breast augmentation is that we don't let children make irreversible surgical decisions for their body on any other plane, in any other realm. Why are we doing it here? Why are we doing it here? I wanted to tell a story as well about my little cousin. So when my little cousin was like 8 or 9, she was getting her hair cut and she asked for bangs. And so they cut bangs and then they cut her hair really short because that's what she wanted. And they showed her herself in the mirror after and she said, "Oh, it's great. I like it, but can you put it back now?" And then had a full meltdown when she realized she couldn't put it back because she was 8 years old. She doesn't understand the laws of natural physics, as she's not supposed to. That's why we have to be the adults and stand up for them, because we understand the laws of natural science and physics. So we have to stand. In what reality have kids ever called the shots? We need to stand up for children. We need to show them right from wrong. And right now, what's going on is wrong. They don't get it. Their brain isn't fully fucking developed. And the way I feel about people who think that children can consent to this shit, no matter how young they are, I'm suspicious of what else you think they can consent to. If you think that they can consent to bodily mutilation, into literal life-altering surgery and synthetic experimental hormones that cannot be reversed, what the fuck else do you think they can consent to? Are you one of those people that thinks that they can, they're just, what does that sound like? Sounds like a pedo that's like, oh, well, they were really mature for their age. Oh, they knew what was going on. It's not okay. It's not okay. I saw a picture of a crying mother. If you could like the video, guys, I would appreciate it, but I'm also a little scared for the video to get liked because I don't know if it'll bring in the right kind of people or the wrong kind of people or bots like last time. But anyway, so I saw a picture of a crying mother who was holding her child in her arms, and she was crying because she couldn't breastfeed her child. Because she thought she was trans, she wasn't. Ended up having some other kind of mental health issue. And cut off her breasts. Realized she wasn't trans, so now she has to go through life mutilated. And cannot have her God-given right of being able to breastfeed her child. These doctors and this reality that we are living in steals people's God-given rights. And there's particularly an attack on women and children, like I said in my last live. And it was heartbreaking, honestly. It was heartbreaking to see this woman just broken because she cannot breastfeed the child that she just grew. I mean, honestly, it's a miracle she was able to conceive a healthy baby and then birth that baby, considering she was on hormones or these other things. So it's kind of a miracle that she even had that experience. But at the same time, it's been so distorted. And that's another thing I want to start talking about. I want to talk about the distortion of like pregnancy and birth, and the way birth has been medicalized, and the way birth has been seen as like an issue and an illness when it's a natural part of life. Like, it's all just really gross, and it's all just a way to keep women out of their power. Okay. I also would like to tell you, I will link these people. There is a very good interview. I think I'm going to reach out to Shape again, because I reached out to Shape during the Lionsgate portal last year, and it was like very, there was a lot going on. It was a very chaotic time for me, so we kept like missing schedules. But Shapeshifter is a detransitioner who, has unfortunately completely mutilated his body because he was fast-tracked to surgery. He was just like a happy, normal gay guy before he got convinced that he was trans by his peers and his doctors, and then got fast-tracked into absolutely mutilating the body that he is in. And now he is a man stuck in a woman's body, and the woman's body isn't even a naturally occurring woman's body. It's this Frankenstein doctor's version of a woman's body. And then there's another one that I will link as well that gave an interview with Buck Angel, who was literally experimented on. So they were I don't know how they identify. I think they're currently trying to figure out how they identify, but so they were male, and they thought that they were trans, so they went to go see the doctors, and the doctors basically fast-tracked them onto hormones and did block their puberty. And they talk very openly and honestly about their genitals. So basically what they did was they stunted the growth of his male genitalia, and then once they became of age, they did an experimental surgery on their male genitalia that they generally do on female genitalia of people who are born intersex. So if you don't know what intersex is, that's essentially what, we used to call a hermaphrodite, where you have characteristics of both genitals. Usually your genitals lead in one direction or another. If you want me to talk about this another time, I don't have like an extensive knowledge on it, but I have some knowledge on it because one of my professors in my gender studies classes taught us about this, and we had like a whole section, like a whole curriculum on it. So if you ever want to talk about it, I'm open to talking about it. I don't have personal experience. I'm a natural born woman, but I do have some information on it. But basically, intersex, like I said, is when you're born with characteristics of both female and male genitalia, but you're usually born with like leaning in one direction more than the other. So the idea that this mad scientist, and by the way, this person whose story I will link below, this person, it's just so sad. They didn't even know what trans was. And then they started doing their research. So it's like very upsetting and disturbing as well that like they learned all this information on their own, and then instead of giving them more scholarly information or giving them more options or sending them to a therapist or something, the doctors just fast-tracked them immediately into puberty blockers and surgery. So the puberty blockers stunted their male genitalia from growing, and then this mad scientist literally did an experimental surgery where they had students watching. Like, they're literally treating these people like guinea pigs. They had students watching, and he tried this experimental surgery on male genitalia that's never been done on male genitalia and completely botched this poor person. So they just have no genitals. Like, I'm not okay with that. I don't know why everyone's like, if trans people are happy, it's fine. And it's like, yeah, okay, but like a lot of them aren't happy. Like, you guys are not paying attention. Like, people who are spiritually bypassing and just saying, well, if they're happy, they're happy. A lot of them aren't. A lot of them are not okay. A lot of them are never gonna have what they had before. They're never gonna have a fully healthy body, which is why I say this has been hijacked by Big Pharma. So they experimented this creepy experiment on this poor minor kid. I know, Corn, it's just stressful. And it didn't work. And now they refuse to help them. And now they just, can you imagine that? You just have no genitals. Like, I don't even know. I can't even begin to think what that's like. I can't even begin to understand what it's like to be on puberty blockers as a child. I can't even begin to think about what it's like getting surgery as a fucking child. I can't even begin to think about what it's like to have no fucking genitals. How do you pee? Like, also, they've stripped your birthright of, like, pleasure. We all have a birthright of pleasure. We're gonna have, like, this is where sociopaths come from. And I'm not saying that, like, all these people are gonna turn to sociopaths, but, like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you turn to a sociopath if you literally got abandoned by every system, every professional, all the medical advice you got literally just ruined your life and mutilated you to the point of, like, you no longer have fucking genitals? Like, yeah, some people are gonna go crazy from that. Some people are gonna freak out. But, so now this person has no genitals, and the doctors were lying to them the entire time. The doctors kept saying, we're changing your gender. You're not male. We're going to make you female. You're not male. We're going to make you female. That's a bold-faced lie. You can never change your biology. You just can't. You can't change your biology. You can't. You can take hormones, which have very serious effects because you're taking hormones that are not biologically compatible to your body, synthetic hormones. I, as a woman, had very negative effects from synthetic hormones that are compatible to my body, aka birth control. So they lied. They said that they were changing them into a female, and that's just not the truth. And then when their surgery got botched, now they want nothing to do with them. That's another thing that you don't hear about with detransitioners, is that the surgeons who botched them refuse to fix them. That's why I say it's literally like mad scientist experimentation. And this is not one or two people. This is, I think the last time I checked, the detransitioner Reddit had like over 250,000. It's got to be way more by now. Way more. Way more. But so I'm going to link the video of Shapeshifter, and then I forgot the other individual's name, but I will put it. I will also link Shapeshifter's YouTube, and I'm going to reach out to him again and see if I... Shapeshifter just had somebody do them dirty, where they said that they were not going to use the whole interview, and then use the interview with Shape to get clicks. And so I don't know if Shape will actually want to do an interview, but I'll see so people can have some understanding. But I will link the interview that Shape did with Blair White. I will link the interview that this other individual did with Buck Angel, because it is horrifying and it is the truth, and it's important that we start listening to the truth. And yeah, I think that's everything on my notes. I think I kept my composure pretty well this time. I know that this is a topic that people really don't like to talk about, and even the fact that there's like 16 people in here and like 3 people liked it. I'm grateful you're listening. I'm grateful you're hearing my voice, but this is just a topic I'm going to be speaking out against more, because if I'm being really honest, I've seen the future and I have to help heal this. So as a healer, I'm going to be asked to step up and lead in the situation and do my best to help bring some healing and bring some healing not only to the physical mutilation that's been happening, but also to the fact that, like I said, a lot of these people no longer have genitals, and that takes away, like, one of the things that Shape was talking about was like, he's like, I miss just being like a normal gay guy who was like, having these like he was saying, he misses sex, he misses intimacy in that way, because he literally has no genitals. Like, I can't even imagine what that's like. So Spirit has told me, actually Aset, because when we think of Isis and Osiris, or Aset and Asar, Osiris was literally chopped up by Set, and his body was scattered all over ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet. And so Aset, or Isis, had to fly over ancient Kemet, gather all the parts of her counterpart, and put him back together, which is where the idea of the mummy came from, because she had to wrap him up to put all his pieces back together. And the only thing she couldn't find was his phallus. So then she constructed a phallus out of gold. They then, had sex and created Heru, Horus. It was like their version of an immaculate conception. And so basically I've been told that I'm going to have to find ways to put these people back together, because there's no way to get their penis back. There's no way to get their breasts back. There's no way to get these parts of their body back. And so I'm going to have to figure out ways to heal them and ways to activate their kundalini so that they can experience full body orgasm and full body pleasure. Yeah, and the reason I said what I said, that it's child abuse, is because children cannot consent. Children cannot consent to life-altering decisions. Children cannot consent to surgically changing their body. Children cannot consent to taking experimental synthetic hormones that have been proven to cause issues as well. So there are plenty of detransitioners who talk about the fact that their Jazz Jennings is super famous. Her transition, she's had to have multiple surgeries because she's one of the first kids that was put on puberty blockers, and she's had to have multiple surgeries on her genitals because her body didn't grow enough in order to have the means to change her penis into a vagina. So it actually stunted her ability to have a safe surgery. So there's plenty of people who speak about that. This is not a one-off thing, and it's child abuse, in my opinion, because they cannot consent to surgically changing their body. They cannot consent to putting experimental synthetic hormones in their body. They cannot consent to making decisions that will affect them for their entire life. They cannot consent on the grounds of sterilizing themselves because they're not thinking about having children. That's so far in the future. They're not thinking about reproducing. They're not thinking about having children. So they cannot consent to that because it takes away their sovereign right to have children. And there's another conversation there too with like forced birth control. Like I've been in situations where my OBGYN has forced me to have birth control because they're like, the worst thing that could happen right now is you getting pregnant. And it's like, says who? Like there's this really weird outside push, like I said, for population control and sterilization. And that is the choice of the individual, and the choice of the individual cannot be made at such a young age. Yeah. You can't decide what you want in your adulthood when you're a child. And I also think it's abuse because, like I said, the puberty blockers are literally what we use to punish and sterilize rapists in jail. Yeah, and I think that clearly states why I think that, and I know there are more reasons, I just can't think of them off the top of my head right now. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. And it's okay if you disagree. It's okay if... I say it's okay, but, like, I kind of don't... Honestly, I don't think it's okay. I don't think it's okay to watch children go through this stuff and just sit back and not care or think that it's okay. But I can't make you believe anything, and I'm not here to try and force you to believe anything. I am telling you, though, my beliefs on the situation, and that I disagree with it. And I also believe that this time is going to go down in history. I believe COVID, the trans madness that's been going on, like I always say, I have nothing against real trans people. I have an issue with the weird agenda that Big Pharma has cultivated around the topic of being trans. I think this is going to go down in history, and people are going to be like, what the fuck was everybody thinking? And so, Also, I did learn as well that, so there was this girl who was Black China tried to traffic her, and Black China, like, held her in her house for, like, 16 hours or something crazy like that. I don't know the exact amount of time, but, like, a crazy amount of time Black China held her in her house. And this is not the first person who's come out and said that Black China has tried to traffic them. Apparently, she was talking about how, if she was trans, she was going to make a lot more money than if she was just a regular woman. And she kept being like, I'm fucked if you're not trans. I'm fucked if you're not trans. And this girl wasn't trans. For whatever reason, they thought she was trans. I think it's because she had a lot of plastic surgery. But so that has been brought to my attention as well, that trans people are considered more valuable when it comes to human trafficking, which I think is also a very unfortunate layer that I've just unpacked to this entire situation. So, yeah, that's my thoughts. I guess it's kind of like nobody really chatted, which I guess is better than the last live when it was like all the angry people chatting. But those are my thoughts. They're not going to change. If anything, they've just gotten stronger and stronger over the years, and I am going to be talking about more of this stuff, and I want to continue to keep my channel a safe space for women, and, well, for all people, but I want, you know, particularly, I want men to feel safe here too, but I do want to hold space for the women, and I am going to be doing more stuff to support detransitioners because there's a need for it, so I'm going to be doing more, like, Reiki and stuff for detransitioners and things like that, so yeah, and maybe I'll see if I can even get some detransitioners, like I said, on here to kind of chat about their experience and what they went through and kind of open people's eyes. So thanks for coming to my live. Thanks for being respectful, and I'll see you guys another time. All right, have a good day. Love you. Bye-bye.